Dear Yoni, you are a beautiful black woman who gives lovely advice. But one thing about you that ticks me a little off is your unhealthy obsession with marriage. Yes, I said it. Your unhealthy obsession with marriage. Because, see, what you don't understand is how you grew up in a two-parent household is totally different than what people like me grew up in. Because I grew up in a two-parent household, but it was not peaches and cream. I grew up in a toxic two-parent household where I had to watch my mom and dad fight all the time, put knives on each other all the time. Had to go to school worrying about whether or not my dad was going to kill my mom all the time. You didn't have to grow up in a household where you had to deal with verbal abuse. When you couldn't figure something out, you was called a dummy or retarded. Go on down the road, called a bitch, a little bitch, any of that. You didn't have to grow up experiencing that. So you look at life through your own eyes without knowing or even recognizing that there are people out here just like me who grew up in a toxic two-parent household who had to go through this. Some adults who have went through this growing up, it has a long-term effect on them. Hence me, which was the reason why it took me so long to get married, because I see men differently because of what I witnessed my dad do growing up. My dad abused drugs and alcohol, and I knew all of this growing up. Not by what my mom told me, what he allowed me to see. Plus, he was physically and verbally abusive, and he didn't have no filter on who he did it around. He allowed anybody who was in the house to see him carry on this behavior. When he would get drunk, he would act a fool. He would put his hands on my mom. But, when he did drugs, he actually acted a little better. But other than that, he used to get drunk and show his ass. Bottom line. But see, women who live in this fairy tale mindset and way of thinking like you, who never experienced this growing up, you would say that none of that matters. The only thing that matters is you get the title of being a wife. It doesn't matter if your husband is abusive. It doesn't matter if he abused drugs and alcohol and abused you and sometimes your kids, because he's this person, because he's this monster. Oh, it didn't matter that I watched my drunk dad bang my mom's head up against a steering wheel and put a hole in her eye where you could see the white spot. That doesn't matter. As long as she had the title of being married. That's what you're making it seem like. I'm just saying. That's what you're making it seem like. Like marriage is everything. Even when it's toxic and it's been known to have psychological damage on kids. I am a living example of what it can do to you because I grew up in an environment like that. But for women who are so obsessed with getting married, like Yoni, they don't look at any of this. This is my problem. They don't look at any of this. They don't look at what could happen. My dad wasn't always the person he was when my mom first got with him. In in time, he changed and became this person. This is the type of stuff that happens a lot of time in marriages. But women like Yoni, look past this because they didn't experience this growing up. So they think that there are other kids and women out here who are not experiencing this or not going through this or feel a certain way about it. It's women out here like me who are actually, I was scared to get married because of what I seen my dad, how I seen him do my mom. Hence why I got married at 35. because I was in fear of that for a long time. And even now, if he starts showing me symptoms that he is like my dad, we getting a divorce. Cause that's one thing I'm not finna do. I'm not finna go through the same experience my mom went through. I'll be alone and single all day, every day. And I'm sure that it's women out here who feel the same way. On the flip side, it's probably women out here who are getting abused by their man or their husband because they feel like that's the way it's supposed to be because they grew up seeing it. Stop painting a picture that all marriages are magical when they're not. It's a lot of toxic marriages out here. And the kids are there having to witness all of this. Then some of them grow up and carry this same toxic behavior that they witnessed as a child. Let's stop being in denial and acting like this is not going on. And another thing, let's stop pretending that black married men are building a community when they're not. My dad was married. My mom and dad been married 40 years. He didn't build not one building. A lot of times these men not thinking about rebuilding no community. The only thing they're thinking about is their own household. And most of the time they just sitting in the living room watching football games and basketball games. Let's be real. Some of them take their families and leave the community and don't help contribute to the community at all. You see how in denial some women are? Another thing I want to hit on is this false belief that men who grew up in two parents household are better men or become better men. This is a lie because I've known men who grew up in two parents household who were monsters. I've known preachers who had kids who were bad kids. Sometimes both parents can do whatever it takes to raise their kids the right way, and the kids still turn out bad. But anyway, my point is this. Marriages are not for everyone. And there is a such thing as toxic marriages, which is why it's not a good idea to push marriage on everybody. Raising a child in a house of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and domestic violence can have just as much of a damaging effect on a kid as that child growing up in a single family household. And if you want proof, I am the proof. But then again, if you need so much proof, you go back and read this up here. It will tell you what type of effects that domestic violence have on children. Now, I don't support the baby mama culture. I'll tell a woman quick to save her womb for the right man who really wants to be with her and marry her. But if she's not feeling getting married, I'm not going to force that on her because there's no telling of what I may be forcing her into. No woman or child deserves to get abused. And that's just the way I see it. I'm gone, y'all. Peace.